Welcome to Feasting on the Word for this week. It is June the 25th, 2025, once again picking up the rhythms of our faith that go back to its very foundations. And what is this all about? This is about trying to approach God's inspired word in a manageable way, as it can be very intimidating to know how to start and how much to read, and let alone how to really appreciate anything that is said in it. So what Feasting on the Word attempts to do is to take a small passage of Scripture and let us live with it a little longer and linger with it a little longer. How does it do that? As I said, small passage of Scripture. We hear it intentionally 4 times and intersperse that only with silence to give us that opportunity to really ponder into its meaning and to live with it. So we update this a little bit with 4 different translations of the same passage. The New Revised Standard, the Message, the Contemporary English, and the New International Version. A minute of silence following the first reading, a minute following the second, 3 minutes following the third reading, and then concluding with the 4th and final reading. That longer period of silence is intended as an opportunity for us to turn to God in prayer. So that's taking our hearing this passage for 3 readings and uplifting to God how this is encouraging us, inspiring us, confusing us, whatever it might be, but how it is living with us on this day. I encourage you to have something to write with and something to write on nearby, and you can write down your impressions of the passage through the first 3 readings, and from that then use that as the material for your prayer in that longer period of silence. All right, let's get into it for this week. Our passage is from the Gospel of Luke. This is the 20th chapter, verses 27 through 40, beginning with the New Revised Standard Version. Some Sadducees, those who say there is no resurrection, came to Jesus and asked him a question. "Teacher, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies, leaving a wife but no children, the man shall marry the widow and raise up children for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first married a woman and died childless. Then the second and third married her, and so in the same way all 7 died childless. Finally the woman also died. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife will the woman be? For the 7 had married her." Jesus said to them, "Those who belong to this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy of a place in that age and in the resurrection from the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage. Indeed, they cannot die any more, because they are like angels and are children of God, being children of the resurrection. And the fact that the dead are raised, Moses himself showed in the story about the bush, where he speaks of the Lord as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Now he is God not of the dead, but of the living, for to him all of them are alive." Then some of the scribes answered, "Teacher, you have spoken well," for they no longer dared to ask him another question. Our second reading of Luke chapter 20, verses 27 through 40 from the Message. Some Sadducees came up. This is the Jewish party that denies any possibility of resurrection. They asked, "Teacher, Moses wrote us that if a man dies and leaves a wife but no child, his brother is obligated to marry her and give her children. Well, there was once 7 brothers. The first took a wife. He died childless. The second married her and died. Then the third, and eventually all 7 had their turn but no child. After all that, the wife died. That wife now, in the resurrection, whose wife is she? All 7 married her." Jesus said, "Marriage is a major preoccupation here, but not there. Those who are included in the resurrection of the dead will no longer be concerned with marriage, nor, of course, with death. They will have better things to think about, if you can believe it. All ecstasies and intimacies then will be with God." Even Moses exclaimed about resurrection at the burning bush, saying, "God, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob." God isn't the God of dead men, but of the living. To him, all are alive. Some of the religion scholars said, "Teacher, that's a great answer." For a while, anyway, no one dared put questions to him. Our third reading of Luke chapter 20, verses 27 through 40, and remember our longer period of silence will follow. The Sadducees did not believe that people would rise to life after death. So some of them came to Jesus and said, "Teacher, Moses wrote that if a married man dies and has no children, his brother should marry the widow. Their first son would then be thought as the son of the dead brother. There were once 7 brothers. The first one married but died without having any children. The second one married his brother's widow, and he also died without having any children. The same thing happened to the third one. Finally, all 7 brothers married this woman and died without having any children. At last the woman died. When God raises people from death, whose wife will this woman be?" All 7 brothers had married her. Jesus answered, "The people in this world get married. But in the future world, no one who is worthy to rise from death will either marry or die. They will be like angels and will be God's children because they have been raised to life." In the story about the burning bush, Moses clearly shows that people will live again. He said, "The Lord is the God worshipped by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." So the Lord isn't the God of the dead, but of the living. This means that everyone is alive as far as God is concerned. Some of the teachers of the law of Moses said, "Teacher, you've given a good answer." From then on, no one dared to ask Jesus any questions. Our fourth and final reading of Luke chapter 20, verses 27 through 40 from the New International Version. Some of the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to Jesus with a question. "Teacher," they said, "Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies and leaves a wife but no children, the man must marry the widow and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first one married a woman, died childless. The second, and then the third married her in the same way. The 7 died, leaving no children, and finally the woman died too. Now then at the resurrection, whose wife will she be, since the 7 were married to her?" Jesus replied, "The people of this age marry and are given in marriage. But those who are considered worthy of taking part in the age to come and in the resurrection from the dead will neither marry nor be given in marriage, and they can no longer die, for they are like the angels. They are God's children, since they are children of the resurrection. But in the account of the burning bush, even Moses showed that the dead rise, for he calls the Lord the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He's not the God of the dead, but of the living, for to him all are alive." Some of the teachers of the law responded, "Well said, teacher," and no one dared to ask him any more questions. This is the inspired word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.